this is Tracy Roach with Sawyer Ford Home, and today I am bringing you a video on something that is so close to my heart, something I'm really passionate about, and that is calligraphy on a budget. Guys, I like to save money, and it's not always just a like to save money. Lots of times it's a necessity, and I know that a lot of you guys out there are in the same position, and it can be really intimidating when you get on Instagram and you see people with these just like huge collections of expensive inks and pens and high-end handmade paper and all this stuff. It can be really intimidating to look at that and say, wow, I can't afford all that stuff, and I would love to do calligraphy, but I don't have the money to get started. So today I want to show you that yes, you do have the money to get started, chances are. So I don't want to say that because I don't know everybody's situation, but I'm here to show you how you can do this on a budget. We're going to look at a couple different kinds of calligraphy. We're going to look at pointed pen calligraphy, and we're going to look at some like Crayoligraphy and brush pen calligraphy as well. First thing that I want to start out with is paper. Obviously, if you're going to do calligraphy, you're going to need something to write on, and you could pick up a rock or write on the wall, but it's probably going to be friendlier and more cost-effective to just write on paper. So I have a couple different options for you here. This ink stained pad. This is a Daler Rowney. Make sure it's in the camera here. Daler Rowney lightly textured drawing pad for all drawing mediums. Okay, so you can see down here there's a pencil, there's like a pen nib, what looks like chalk and oil. So you can use this for a bunch of different things. It's kind of, I don't know if you can see it, but it's kind of lightly textured, as it says here on the front. This pad of paper, I got this at Walmart for $2.97. Now, I will say a disclaimer here at the beginning that I cannot guarantee that anything that I am recommending in this video price-wise is going to be the same price. I don't have any control over what a company does with their price. They may change it, they may, triple it, I don't know. But for the time being, what I have found, standard price on this is $2.97 at Walmart. I have not found this exact drawing pad on Amazon, as I know not everybody has access to a Walmart, but I have found very similar drawing pads by Strathmore and Canson, and they're not quite as cheaply priced as Walmart is on this one, but they're still pretty affordable. This is one option, and the other option, this is printer paper, but it's not just any printer paper. This is, I'm bringing camera here. This is HP Premium, sorry, I've got ink everywhere. This is HP Premium 32 Laserjet paper. I got this on Amazon, it's where I always get it. You can probably get it at like Office Max, Staples, things like that, but I have found that they tend to be pricier than Amazon. I think that the retail as of today on this is for a 500 sheet ream is $23. However, I have never paid more than $12. Pretty consistently, that's about what Amazon runs on their price-wise, at least as of my experience through today. It's got 500 sheets, so that will last you a really good long time. That's what I write on like 98% of the time. Anytime that I'm just sitting down and I'm practicing or I'm just playing, anytime that I'm doing like a draft sheet that I'm gonna put through a light box and transfer onto more expensive paper, I'm using this. So this is really, really good for just about any ink out there. It works really well with sumi ink. It even works pretty well with some watercolor inks. Then they tend to bleed on everything because they're not really inks, they're watercolors. But this paper does pretty well even with that. So as far as something to write with, you're going to need obviously a pen, a calligraphy pen or a brush pen or a marker. So a couple of options here. Probably one of the cheapest things you can do starting out is go to the store and grab you a pack of Crayolas. These are the Crayola broad tips. These are Crayola super tips. And I don't know when you're watching this video, but I'm filming it in July. All the back to school stuff is showing up in stores right now, and these are super cheap. Like right now, they always put Crayola markers down just like crazy low price. Like, you can get them for $2-3 for a pack. I think that I got my pack of super tips. I want to say there's 50 of them, and I got them not this year, but I think a couple years ago, back to school time, and I want to say that I paid like $4 for a 50 pack. It was kind of crazy. But you can do some really cool stuff with these. They're just, you know, like markers you colored with when you were a kid in your coloring book, but you can get some really cool line variation. Let's see, this is seafoam. We'll write seafoam. But to get the thick lines, I'm just pressing more on the side of the marker, and then I'm writing more with the tip to get the upstroke or the thinner line. That's with the broad tip, and the super tips are basically the same thing, just, you know, a little bit smaller. But you can do all kinds of things with these. If you have the right paper, or if you have a washable marker, you can even do some blending with these. And actually, let's stick that out of the way there. Let me go through here. I did this earlier just playing around, and I did like a pink marker. We'll write high again, because why not? And then I just added some orange to the bottom. Just another Crayola. And then I used a water brush. And these are, you can get them all over the place. You can get them at Hobby Lobby, or some Walmarts have them. You can get them on Amazon. You get them at Michael's, Joann's, whatever. I want to say this is a Brea Reese water brush, but they make them, Pentel makes them. I mean, you don't have to pay a whole lot of money for them. You can, especially if you use a coupon at Hobby Lobby, you can get them for under $5. But you don't have to have a water brush. Like, this has just got the water in the barrel so that you don't have to dip. But you can use just a plain old paintbrush. But you can see I'm just using the water to pull the color up. And it makes a really cool blend. And I actually did another video on my YouTube channel about blending, but I didn't use Crayolas. I used Mozart single brush pens, but those are a little more expensive than Crayolas, so I wanted to show you you don't have to have even those to do some cool stuff. So anyway, you can write with Crayola. If you're wanting to get into brush pens, this is a Tombow, I'm going to mispronounce it. It's a Tombow Fudenosk, I think it's called. I used to call them Tombow Fudenosuke because I don't know what I'm doing. But somebody said it was Tombow Fudenosk, I think. These are really cheap. These come in, well, now they have in a bunch of different colors, but once upon a time you could only get them in black or gray. But if you're learning to use a brush pen, this is an excellent option because you've got a high level of control with these. This is a hard tip, and it's just got like a really small tip, and then they have, sorry, I have ink under my nails, and then there's a soft tip, which is a little broader tip. But you can see that you get pretty good control with these. And these are not expensive. For a 2-pack that comes with the hard and the soft, I think my local art store, which is Jerry's Artorama, I want to say that it's like $4 and some change there. I started to write a different word than I planned on. Tombow is what I was going for. But that's for the 2-pack. And I have gotten them at Walmart too for around $5 for a 2-pack, so that's not super high-end expensive. And they last a good long time. I mean, I have written until the ink was gone on these, but it took me a long time. You can also use these. These are kind of the darling of the brush pen world. These are Tombow dual brush pens, and they are really large tips, you can see, so you get some really big downstrokes. But they're not my favorite just because I don't have good enough control with brush pens to do really well with them. Now, if I practice more, I would, and this is actually what I started out lettering with, but it didn't take me very long to get into pointed pen lettering and to really fall in love with that. I will tell you that if you buy these, in the craft store or in the art store, like Hobby Lobby or Joann's, things like that, you may end up paying more than you will at Amazon or than buying them individually. I know that in my experience, I've seen them at some of the big box stores for like $20 for like a 5 or 6 pack. Jerry's Artorama, which is in Knoxville, I want to say it's in Nashville, it's in some local places down south, and I know not everybody has access, but they put these on sale all the time, and most of my colors I've gotten when they were like $1.77 a piece, and I'll just buy piecemeal a color to, you know, when I want it. But because this is not really my focus, I don't go buy a whole lot of these. I will say that if you are traveling somewhere, or if you're in like someplace that you can't pull out wet ink and a nib and all that, brush pens or Crayolas are the way to go. These Tombows, this Tombow feud, these stay in my purse in this little pouch. It says Calligraphy Nerd. And if you want, guys, this is a free cut file on my blog. If you sign up for my newsletter, you can get this free cut file. But this pouch has just got some random stuff in it. And I'm not gonna lie, when I'm in church, I listen, very much I listen. But I'm a doodler, and so I've got a notebook, and I'll sit and I'll take notes, and I will just write down keywords from the sermon, things like that. And this is usually what I use, is this Tombow feud. But you know, as I said, you can achieve some really cool colors and blends and forms with just plain old Crayolas or the cheap Tombow. You don't have to have high-end expensive stuff. So, sorry, I know my video is scattered and all over the place. I'm doing my best here, guys. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about is ink. Okay, if you're doing pointed pen calligraphy, you've got to have ink. And there are so many inks out there. I mean, it's crazy. Hundreds and hundreds of inks, and there's some really expensive inks out there, like, you know, inks that you can pay like $30, $40 a bottle for. And they're super cool, and I wish I had all the inks in the world. I really do. But honestly, I have a lot of inks right now because I have shopped for 2 years, and I've been really careful, and I bought stuff here and there and gotten stuff on sale. But what I reach for 99% of the time is this. This originally was Daniel Smith Walnut Ink, and that's what the bottle was. You can't tell anymore because I've handled it so much. But I don't buy Daniel Smith Walnut Ink anymore. I buy this. These are Walnut Ink Crystals from Paper and Ink Arts, and this is so much more cost effective. Walnut ink is so cheap to make and to use that, like, if you want to travel with dry crystals and like you're on vacation and you're lettering, and I can tell you from experience that I have done this. I have gone on vacation and taken a pen with me and wanted to take ink with me, and so I ended up doing walnut ink. This bottle, for whatever reason, leaks all the time. I don't know why. And so there for a long time, I was like, I would like double bag it in all these Ziploc bags and hope it didn't leak too much. I don't have to do that. If I'm going somewhere that I'm going to be away, I can take this and I can make my own walnut ink there. And it's cheap enough that I can throw away what I don't use. Because here's what we're looking at. This bottle I got at Jerry's Artorama, and I want to say that I paid about $7 or $8 for it. And this, I think, is a 2-ounce bottle. The size has rubbed off now, but I think it's a 2-ounce bottle. So it was about two ounces for like $8, so that's about $4 an ounce. Okay, this is 1 ounce, or when I bought it, it was 1 ounce of crystals, which is, you can see here it says mix 1 teaspoon of crystals with a half a cup of distilled water. There's 6 teaspoons in an ounce. So you're making 3 cups of water, or 3 cups of ink with what's in this. I mean, you don't want to make 3 cups at once, but that's how much ink you can make with these walnut ink crystals in an ounce. This is $2.95 at Paper and Ink Arts as of today. So you can pay $2.95 for 3 cups of ink, or 24 ounces of ink, or you can pay $7 or $8 for 2 ounces of ink. So that's like, you know, $3.50, $4 an ounce versus 24 ounces for $3. Now it does suggest that you make it with distilled water. That's usually what I do, but you don't have to. You can make it with plain old tap water unless there's something crazy going on with your tap water. But even if you want to do distilled ink, it's like 99 cents a gallon, so that's not cost prohibitive. So for this $2.95 bottle of walnut ink crystals and a 99 cents jug of water, of distilled water, you can make 3 cups of walnut ink, and that will last you forever and ever and ever. Okay, Not literally, but for a very long time. Okay, so walnut ink has some major benefits besides just being cheap, which is not inconsiderable in my estimation. But for one thing, it's really pretty. Sorry, I'm getting it all over. That's why I have ink under my nails, because I'm a mess. But I use walnut ink for probably 99% of my writing. Now, not necessarily if I'm writing, if I'm doing a project like to sell or a project, you know, for a gift, although sometimes I do. I have done projects using walnut ink for gifts, but if I am just practicing, if I'm doing drills, if I'm just doodling, this is what I reach for 99% of the time. It's easy to use. It flows really well. It's inexpensive. It does well with most papers. It's not going to do well with just like your plain cheap copy paper, but it does really well with this Laserjet paper. Let's see. Let's write summer, because it's summer and it's going too fast. I'm sorry, my letters are kind of all over the place because I'm not writing with guidelines. I'm not a person who does well without guidelines. But you can see that it's not bleeding and it's doing really well. And you get really good hairlines, really fine hairlines. Now, of course, a lot of that is going to depend on your nib, but I can tell you that if I'm using the same nib with, say, acrylic ink or sumi ink, I'm not going to get as fine of hairlines as I do with walnut ink. It's just a really, really thin, watery ink, and yet it still does really well with not bleeding on most stuff. This does really well on watercolor paper. I've even had really, really good success on handmade paper. I did a Theodore Roosevelt quote for my brother on handmade paper from Fabulous Fancy Pants just using walnut ink, and it did really well. It did not bleed. But that's kind of my go-to. Now you can, if you're looking for another basic color, you can go with Sumi. Sumi ink is really affordable as well. You can get a great big bottle of it. Let's see. This is Yasutomo Black Sumi ink. You know, guys, I'm not entirely sure how much I paid for it, but I know it was under $10, and that's a lot of ink. This is, let's see if it's got the, it does not tell me on here how much is in there, but it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a big bottle. You can see, like, if this is 2 ounces, you can tell this is like 10 or so. But Sumi ink is not my friend like walnut ink is. I have used Sumi ink and had good success with it. In fact, the last project that I did that I sold, I used Sumi ink. I just personally have not found that it's as friendly for me with pointed pen as walnut. So your mileage may vary. Either one is an inexpensive option, but if you're looking for making copious amounts of ink for super cheap, walnut ink is your friend. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about pens. Calligraphy pens. Okay, I'm going to show you here my collection of calligraphy pens. I'm going to pull them out here, and it'll take a minute because I got a bunch of them. And then I want to tell you something about them that might surprise you. And while I'm laying these all out, I want to tell you that this is absolutely nothing against beautiful, high-end, custom, artisan-made calligraphy pens. They are fantastic pieces of art. I wish I owned more of them. And it is not to discourage anyone from making the investment in something like that if it's something that you think will enhance your life, whether you think it'll enhance your writing or whether you think that it will enhance just the way that you feel. If it's just something beautiful you want to have on your desk, go for it. People who make calligraphy pens have all of my admiration, and I would love to do it myself someday. Okay, so looking at the stuff we've got here, all of these pens, and you'll notice that most of these are obliques. I don't use straight pens very often. Occasionally I do, but mostly I'm an oblique girl. And I have a glass pen here. Almost all of these pens, not all of them, but almost all of them I got on eBay. Now, this one came from a thrift store. It came with like a calligraphy kit, so I don't know how much that one was. I think the whole kit was like $6 or something at the thrift store, but you can't really go by that. So there's one. This is one that I got in a calligraphy monthly box, and I think it originally came from Paper and Ink Arts. This one, both of these came from Paper and Ink Arts, and this one I covered with some, like a skin. But these both came from Paper and Ink Arts. They're the same pen, and I think they're like $3.95, I think, at Paper and Ink Arts. I have not looked at them in a long time, but they were not very expensive when I did buy them. And this is a Quill, and I think this also maybe came from Paper and Ink Arts, but I'm not sure. I may have gotten that at Jerry's Artorama. Okay, and then this is a beautiful glass pen. This is one of the more comfortable glass pens that I have found. I've had them that have been just horrifically uncomfortable to hold, but this one's pretty good. And I got this one, pretty sure I got this one off eBay, and it was like $4.95. Okay, so all of these, with the exception of this one, came from eBay. No, I'm sorry, I'm not right. This one also came from Paper and Ink Arts. And this was one of the first calligraphy pens that I bought, first oblique pen that I bought that had like a movable flange, and that does make all the difference. This is from Paper and Ink Arts, and I think this is called their turned oblique pen, and I think that it was $14.95 when I got it. And then this, I think I got from Jerry's Artorama. I think this was the very first oblique pen that I bought, and this, guys, is not, I think everybody who does calligraphy has one because that's kind of what they all start out with, but this is not an ideal. Like, you don't have the right angle on the flange, it's not movable, you can only insert your nib so far, so if you have one of these, move on from them as quickly as you can. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to do that because all of these came from eBay with the exception of this. Now this is the crown jewel of my calligraphy pen collection. This is a custom-made oblique pen by Francisco Montez and Kestrel Montez have inked me this. And this was a very special gift. This was a Mother's Day present that my husband bought me the first Mother's Day that I really started doing calligraphy, and we saved up for it, and I don't for a minute regret having it. I love it so much. It's very special to me. It makes me feel super fancy when I use it. It makes me happy to see it in my pen bucket, and I pull it out a lot. However, I can't afford a whole bucket full of Ink Me This pens. I wish I could, maybe someday, and if I can, then I'll probably have a whole bucket of them because they're awesome pens. But this video is about doing calligraphy on a budget. So I want to show you what we have here. These are all eBay pens. Now, the thing about these pens is everything here, each pen, each of these was under $15. Each of these was under $12. Each of these was under $10. And I want to say these were all under $5. These were under $3. And these were under $2, with the exception of maybe one. I got each of these pens for $1.99 a piece, except for I think one I paid $2.25 for. And I don't currently see this deal on eBay, but here's what happened is I went on eBay and I searched for oblique calligraphy pen, and they were all plain. I've added colors to the bottoms of some of them, but they had one listed, just one, and it was listed as now they had a bunch of oblique pens listed, but they had one that was up for auction, and it was starting bid of $1.98, and it was free shipping, so I bid $1.99 and I won it. And the next day I went back and looked, and the guy had another one listed for $1.98, and I bid $1.99 and I won it. And then again and again and again, and then I think somebody bid against me on one of them, and that's why I got to 2 1/4. This and this are the 2 pens that I use more than anything. Now the reason that I have so many pens is because I have a different nib in each pen. And these are both Nico G nibs, but one of them is a caged nib, which means that it's got this little spring in it that holds more ink. And then this one's just a plain nib. When I first started, there was or kind of, you know, about halfway in my journey, there was a friend of mine who had started doing calligraphy about the same amount, or about the same time frame as I had. And she's in California, she's not in my state, but she had this huge collection of beautiful, beautiful pens, and she was, you know, she would show, and hers were all like super like high-end woods, and they were all custom pieces, and like she had a different nib in each one, and she's like, this is why I have so many pens, because I have a different nib in each one, and if I put a different nib in each pen, I'm more likely to reach for it and use that nib than if I have to take out my other nib and change it. And she was right. And I was like, but I can't do that. I can't spend $100 on a whole, you know, a piece on a whole bucket full of pens. Like, that would be nice, but I'm just not there yet. And so that was super frustrating to me. And I was like, well, you know, what if I don't have to pay $100? Let me look around and see what I can find. Now, I will tell you that when you get an artisan pen, when it's custom made one at a time by a craftsperson, they're going to be very careful to make sure that your flange is at the right angle, that everything works really well, and they're going to, you know, you're going to be able to go back to them and ask them questions and things like that. And that's something that I have found with Kestrel. I think she has been so accessible for me to go back and say, what do I do about the angle here? What do I do about making it fit this nib? In fact, she's even like been kind enough to answer questions about like other pens. I had this one from Paper and Ink Arts. The flange kept falling out. Like, it was supposed to be removable, but it just kept like falling out. Like, it would drop down when I went to use it. And I asked Kestrel, I contacted them first, and they're like, well, it's supposed to be removable. And I think that maybe I was not doing a good job of communicating with them what the issue was, because I was really frustrated, and I was like, okay, but it's, you know, I can't use it. And they're like, no, it's supposed to be removable. And I don't think I was communicating well. But I messaged Kestrel on Instagram. And this was not her pen. She didn't make this pen. She didn't sell it to me. But she was so cool about, like, advising me on it. She said, get a little piece of toothpick, get a little piece of a toothpick and stick it down in there, wedge it down in there and break it off. Problem solved. Like, that was super cool. And if you're dealing with someone who hand makes pens, you are going to get that level of customer service and that level of care. And I cannot stress enough how awesome that is. And just knowing that your pen is going to be exactly adjusted to the angle that your nib needs, and that's phenomenal. Like, you're not necessarily going to get that with an eBay purchase. However, if you're starting out and you just want to get to writing, you can't go wrong trying something like this, because even if it comes and you have like a crappy angle on the nib, the information is out there on how to adjust it, and you know where to work with it and what to do with it. And if you're making a $2 investment, you're not out a whole lot of money if it just comes and it's just a bad pen. And I will tell you that with all of the calligraphy pens that I have purchased this way, and you can see that it's a lot of them, I've really only had a problem with like maybe 1 or 2 of them. So for me, it's worth the risk to, you know, get out there and see if it's something that, you know, that you can work with. And like I said, worst case scenario, if it doesn't, you know, do very well with you, you're not out that much. The one pen that I have bought off eBay that I don't really use is this one, and it's so pretty, but it's just weighted kind of weird, and I don't know, I don't like the way that it feels in my hand, but it's really pretty, so I've still got it in my collection. And the irony is, I actually did pay a little bit more for this one. It was like $12 or $13, which is, you know, more than the $2 ones. But, you know, lesson learned. They're not all 100% going to be winners, but I would rather buy, you know, 10 calligraphy pens at $2 or $3 a piece, you know, and take the chance that, you know, 8 of them are going to be good, than to have to wait and save up to buy a higher end pen and not be able to do calligraphy until then. So eBay is an awesome resource. You can find some really reasonable pens even on Etsy. I have seen, I've seen like handmade calligraphy pens for like $22 on Etsy, which is a phenomenal price for a custom one-off piece. I mean, that's amazing. And the guy that I saw who was listing those, I've not seen him list anything in a while, and I'm kicking myself because I really wanted to get one of his because he made some really cool pens, and I like supporting an artist too who, is kind of out there saying, let's make this accessible to everybody. But my point is, you can access the tools that you need without spending a fortune. Also, eBay is a phenomenal resource for vintage nibs. If you will get on eBay and search for a lot, not like a bunch of, but a lot listing for vintage nibs, you can find some really good deals. I got the first listing that I purchased for a lot of nibs was, I think, 50 vintage nibs, and I want to say that I paid like $13 or $14 for it, for 50, and they were all different, and they were all unique, and I didn't use, most of them I have not put into a regular rotation. However, some of them I have. I found some in there that I'm like, oh, this is just a fantastic nib. I love this, and I wish I had 50 of these. And, there's been some that I have gone back and bought multiples of because I really like the way that it performed. And if nothing else, it also gets me out of my comfort zone and helps me to try new nibs that I'm, maybe not as comfortable with, and it helps me grow as a calligrapher and helps me to handle different things. But you can a lot of times find a box of like a gross, which is 144 of a particular kind of vintage nib, and it'll be a really reasonable price. I actually bought a box of 144 Sonecken 326 vintage nibs, and I give those to my people on my Skillshare class who take my pointed pen calligraphy, basic pointed pen calligraphy for the layperson. If you take that class and you complete a project, then I will send you a vintage nib. And so that's, where I get those from, or where I have a source box of those from, and I didn't pay a ton of money for that. But if you are looking to get started, I would start out with a Nico G nib. Like I said, this is a caged nib, but you don't have to do that, and it really is best for walnut ink or another really runny ink like that. But this is just a plain old regular Nico G nib. These are like $2 or $3 a piece. Now a nib will not last you forever. You will eventually wear them out. So you probably want to buy a couple when you're starting out, 2 or 3, just so that you have a backup when you start to go through one. You'll learn as you write when you need to have a new nib. It starts getting really scratchy, it starts skipping. Certainly you need to replace it if you can see any like daylight between the tines when you hold it up to a light. But the place that I usually buy my nibs is Paper and Ink Arts. I find that they are so super reasonable. For me, at least, shipping is really cheap because they're in Nashville. I'm in Knoxville, so there's not a long way to ship it. Your mileage may vary depending on where you are, but there's all kinds of places that you can order. You can do John Neal Bookseller, you can do Paper and Ink Arts, you can even buy these on Amazon, and if you've got Amazon Prime, a lot of times you can get them shipped for free. One thing I will tell you about the pens on eBay is that a lot of times they are coming from overseas and it takes a while to get them, so you're going to need to be patient. Usually I find that when I have ordered these, I have gotten them usually within about 2 or 3 weeks, but it can take longer. Sometimes it's a month or more. So it's not, it's not an instant gratification thing, but you are saving some money. So I think that is about everything that I wanted to go over. Paper, absolutely. You need something that you're not going to have bleeding with, especially for pointed pen. The Daily Roundy from Walmart for $2.97 is their current price on, or at least the price within the last few days that I've checked it. HP Premium 32 Laserjet paper, Amazon around $12 or so, depending on what their current listed price is. Get you a couple pens, order them from eBay. Or if you want to, patronize somebody who is out there making them an artisan pen, that's absolutely, it's worth it. It's worth it, and you do get the customer service. But if you're not there yet financially, if you're not sure yet that you want to make the investment, with what you're doing, if this is going to be a hobby that you're going to stick with, you know, start out with something inexpensive. I would recommend that you don't go with this one. Do not. This one's like $4 and everybody is like, oh, I'll grab an oblique pen. Don't use this one. This is the speedball pen, and it's just, you will do more harm to yourself than help trying to learn with this. Do get something with an adjustable flange, a brass flange, or something along those lines. But get you paper, get you a pen, get you some walnut ink or some sumi ink. But again, I would recommend walnut ink. I just love it more. Get you some Crayola markers, and go to town. Just learn. And you know, this, you may be starting out, and this is maybe, you know, and probably you are, if you're trying to find out how to do calligraphy on a budget, you're probably just getting started. And maybe your goal is to eventually do, you know, wedding calligraphy, or to sell your pieces as an artist. Whatever your goal is, you can get there. But when you're starting out, you don't want to spend a lot of money on materials that you are not ready to use. You don't want to buy awesome high-end handmade paper from Fabulous Fancy Pants and then do your drills on it and have splatters and everything all over it. No, get you some HP premium paper for that. Practice your drills over and over and over again. You'll be surprised with how quickly you'll progress. If you have questions on getting started with calligraphy, check out my Skillshare class. I'm going to put the link up below where you can use my link to join Skillshare for free for 2 months. Skillshare is a paid site, but they do have a free 2-month trial. You are not under any obligation to continue with it after that. I would love it, you know, if you want to go on and watch my classes. I have 21 classes out there right now, and I have more in process. And in fact, this was going to be a Skillshare class. I was going to do calligraphy on a budget as a Skillshare class, and I think that it would have done really well, but I really wanted this to be accessible to everybody. I wanted everybody to have an opportunity to look it up and say, hey, I can afford to start doing calligraphy. You know, I don't have to have all this high-end stuff. And, you know, even if you can afford to do the higher-end stuff, you may not want to. You may want to look at it. You may look at it and say, well, I don't know if this is really something I'm going to stick with. Or maybe you're saying, well, I'm just learning how to do this to do my own calligraphy for my wedding, and it's not going to be a lifelong thing, and I'm trying to stay on a budget. You know, for whatever your reason, I want everybody to have the opportunity to have this be an accessible art form. I feel like calligraphy is enjoying a resurgence right now. I feel like for a very long time it was something that was very specialized and not a lot of people did, but now tons of people are out there doing it and they're killing it, and I love seeing it. One other thing that I will tell you, there are tons of calligraphy classes out there, and I don't have anything disparaging to say about any of them. It's always good to learn from another person. However, I also know that you know, as teachers, we're out there trying to make money. We're trying to make a living, so people charge for their classes. My class, if you're on Skillshare, you can take my classes just as part of the platform. You don't have to pay, you know, for particular classes. You have access to all of them, which I think is one reason Skillshare is such an awesome opportunity for people. But, you know, there's a lot of people who offer classes as a, you know, on different platforms as a one-off basis, and some of those classes can be really expensive. You know, you can go and you can pay $200-300 for a calligraphy class. And there is nothing wrong with that. That's an awesome format. It's an awesome opportunity, especially to have a teacher who's right there hands-on. He can say, oh, no, adjust your hand here, or, you know, here's the angle that you're coming at wrong. Maybe get some of your ink off your nib. It's hard to overestimate how helpful some of that stuff is, and even online classes are fantastic. However, if you don't have the money to start out, you still have a lot of resources that you can learn for free. Lindsay Bagby of thepostmansnock.com has so many helpful tips and tricks, and I learned so much from her when I was getting started, and she answered questions that I had that I didn't find the answer to anywhere else. And my calligraphy, I am mostly self-taught because I followed people on Instagram, and I watched what they were doing, and as Instagram has expanded what they have available, there's a lot more opportunity now that they have things like IGTV. Previously, you could watch a 60-second video, and usually it was really sped up because people were trying to fit as much as they could in there. And while that's super cool to watch, it's not necessarily helpful for learning. So now that they've got IGTV, there's a lot of people who are putting lessons out there. There's a lot of people who are doing stuff like this on YouTube. Take advantage of your free resources. Follow people on Instagram that are not as good as you or that are on the same level as you, because you would be surprised at how much you can learn by watching other people learn. There are so many people that I have watched their journey from them first starting out and being like genuinely terrible like I was when I first started. And that's not a criticism, that's just nobody's good at this at the beginning. Even if you have awesome handwriting, calligraphy is a whole different animal. And so everybody has a learning curve. And so I have watched so many people start out that just, were having such a hard time and they were still learning. And I watched them just over a matter of a few months, or a year, whatever, blossom into like a truly professional artist. And it's been so helpful for me to watch what other people were doing. I would look at someone and say, oh, my letter looks shaky like that too, and I don't understand. And as I watched the things that they were doing and the things that they were changing to solve their problems, it helped me solve some of my problems. Awesome thing about Instagram, I don't know about the other communities, but with the lettering community on Instagram, it is so incredibly generous and helpful. Kind of the motto is community over competition, and the artists that I have found on there by and far really live by that. They want this to be something that anybody can learn to do. They're not super proprietary about their methods and things like that. And so I think that's fantastic. That's so phenomenal, and it has helped me grow and blossom as an artist. And I spent my whole life thinking I didn't have an artistic bone in my body, and I'm still not someone who can draw pictures, but I have learned to do point and pen calligraphy to the level that I'm confident teaching it some, and have having some success as a teacher. And I owe a lot of that to the people who were willing to step out there on Instagram and say, hey, here's a tip if you want to do this, or, if I had a question like, what ink did you use for this, or what's your paper here, or did you learn this technique somewhere? And they were so generous to say, yes, here's what I know, let me share this with you. So absolutely take advantage of your free resources out there. Check out Instagram, check out YouTube, check out Skillshare, follow my link. Like I said, I'll put that down below. You can take my classes, you can take any class out there. There's tons of fabulous teachers on there. Get yourself some affordable materials and start there. And then, as you grow as a calligrapher, you can, invest in some of the higher end stuff because you like it better, or because you just want to, or because you can do things with them that maybe you can't do with the basic supplies. But to start with, start here. Start here with, your basic paper and your basic pens and nibs and inks and, your Crayola stuff, and make something beautiful. And, show me. I would love to see it. Comment below. Share this video. Like this video. Help me, guys. I'm trying to build my channel here. Check out my Instagram. I am on Instagram under Sawyer Ford Home. And I have a blog. It's a crafting and calligraphy blog at sawyerfordhome.com. Check me out there. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to chat with you. If you have questions, you can message me on Instagram. You can email me through my blog. You can leave a comment down below. I'll see it, guys, and if I have an opportunity, I'll get back to you. If I see it, I'll get back to you. But I want to get to know people, so pass this along, like the video, and, like I said, and share it, and let's all make something beautiful together. Have a great day.